Have you ever been faced with something that looks good on the surface, a job, a friendship, a relationship, but deep down, you know it undermines your worth, your healing, or your peace? How do you find the strength to walk away? Hello everyone, welcome back to Beloved. I'm Charisse Rochelle, and today we are exploring one of the hardest lessons in healing and growth, which is walking away from what seems good but is actually harmful or misaligned with who God is shaping you to be. Walking away isn't about giving up. It's about protecting your peace, honoring your worth, and trusting that God has something better waiting. But knowing when to step back and actually having the courage to do it can be difficult, especially when fear, loneliness, or uncertainty tempt us to settle. So how can we recognize when it's time to walk away? Here are a few signs that you're holding on to something which may not be right for your season of growth. You feel constant anxiety, unease, or discomfort around it. You're sacrificing your values, your peace, or your boundaries to maintain it. You notice recurring patterns that mirror past pain or unhealed wounds. You compromise on what you know God has called you to out of fear of missing out. Sometimes we know that we should step away, but external pressures make us compromise. So for example, loneliness. Fear of being alone can push us to cling to something less than healthy. Financial pressures, feeling trapped by our bills, our obligations, or practicality. Societal expectations, the pressure to have it all by a certain age or on a timeline. As women, many of us have that idea in our mind of be married by this age, have children by this time, these kinds of things. And fear of scarcity, believing that better just isn't possible. So we take or settle for whatever is available. These pressures can make it feel very tempting to settle for less than what we deserve. I want to share a recent experience I had with my dad because it really brought home the importance of self-respect in a very practical way. So growing up, my dad often used finances as a way to exert dominance and control, and our family has experienced a lot of financial abuse over the years. And recently, I identified an opportunity for us to both earn some extra money, and I asked him to let me manage this project. And I outlined some rates which I thought were fair for the work that I would be doing, rates that would allow him to earn exactly what he said he wanted while also honoring my time, my skills, and my effort. But instead of working with me as a partner, he tried to box me into accepting an extremely small commission for a very large workload. He wanted to keep almost all of the earnings without doing any of the actual work. And he also insisted on controlling everything, receiving the payments, deciding when I would get paid, setting the rates that I could charge clients. And I explained multiple times why this arrangement wasn't fair and how I had planned to handle the payments in a way that guaranteed that he would get exactly what he wanted to earn, but he refused to consider my proposal. I even drafted a contract for my services that laid out my responsibilities and rates clearly, but he sent me back an alternative contract with his own terms that completely disregarded my boundaries. Actually, he offered me terms in a written contract which I had already at least twice said were unacceptable. And I share this because I think it's so important to remember that just because someone is family, it doesn't mean that your boundaries or your self-respect should slip. And it doesn't matter who it is or how desperate the situation may feel. If something undermines your dignity, your worth, or the healing that you've worked so hard for, it's just not worth the cost. I decline the offer. Here's a truth to hold on to. God is your ultimate provider, your ultimate source, and your ultimate guide. And your value and wholeness are not dependent on a job, a person, or an opportunity. You need to lean into God when fear and desperation try to sway your decisions. Psalm chapter 34 verse 10 says, "The lions may grow weak and hungry, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing." So how can we identify something better? Walking away is only half of the battle. You also need clarity on what better looks like. So here's a framework for that. Alignment with values. Does this honor your beliefs, your boundaries, and your God-given worth? 2, growth potential. Will this lift you up? Will it challenge you positively or help you to become more of who God created you to be? 3, peace versus chaos. Does it bring stability and emotional safety or constant anxiety and compromise? Encouragement versus depletion. Number 4, are you energized, supported, and valued, or do you feel drained, dismissed, and undermined? And number 5, long-term vision. Could this support the life, the relationships, and the calling that God is leading you toward? Here's an exercise that you can do. Write down your must-haves versus your deal breakers in relationships, work, or friendships, and ask God to illuminate the path towards what truly honors your worth. So let's look at how to actually walk away gracefully. Because walking away doesn't have to be dramatic or guilt-ridden. Communicate clearly and kindly. Use honest but respectful language. So when I declined the offer from my dad, I said, "Thank you, but I will need to decline because of the following reasons." And then I provided the reasons for why I could not accept the proposal. I said, as I explained previously, the scope of the work significantly surpasses the compensation that you would like me to accept. And I've communicated this. What is being asked of me is also quite vague, and I know that there's going to be a lot more required than what's actually acknowledged here because of things that were said in person. And I said, thanks. Hopefully, maybe in the future, we'll have another opportunity to work on something that aligns for the both of us. You know, you at the same time, the Bible tells you that you should honor your mother and your father, that your days will belong in the land. So just because you have a father or a father figure who may still be trying to exert certain things over you, or who may still be operating in a certain way that may, continue to impact your healing negatively, doesn't mean that you should respond in a way that's not respectful to this person. Right. So the second thing is take practical steps. Change your routines, limit contact, or create physical or emotional space. And we've touched on boundaries in previous episodes, so just have a listen to those episodes if you haven't before. The next thing is to lean on community. So share your decision with someone who will support and pray for you. And also anchor yourself in God. So use scripture and prayer to remind yourself that leaving isn't rejection, it's protection. See walking away as a gain and not a loss. So it's natural to feel like letting go is losing something, but in God's economy, leaving behind what dishonors you opens space for what truly builds you up, which is emotional safety, authentic connections, alignment with your calling, and peace, freedom, and joy. Isaiah 43 verse 19 says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" Walking away is not giving up. It's trusting God to replace what doesn't serve with what aligns with His plan for your life. Today's affirmation is, I trust God to guide me towards what honors my worth, and I walk away from what undermines me, knowing that He has something better prepared. I am worthy of peace, respect, and joy. And we're going to close on this verse, Psalm chapter 16, verse 11, which says, "You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy, and at your right hand are pleasures forevermore." If today's episode encouraged you, I invite you to reach out to me at belovedwithcherise@gmail.com or share your thoughts with someone you trust. Don't forget to subscribe to Beloved on Substack. Don't forget to subscribe to Beloved on Substack to continue walking this journey of healing, growth, and discernment with me. And remember that walking away does not diminish your story. It strengthens your character, honors your worth, and opens the door to what God has in store for you. Until next time, stay rooted in truth, wrapped in grace. Never forget, you are beloved.